Now, the one where, is concerning is obviously in the Nasdaq. And the Nasdaq is in a bearish retracement. It's in a short-term bearish downtrend. You're fighting up against some fairly important cluster of moving averages here. And so when you're looking at the Nasdaq, and guys, for veteran traders out there, you've seen this before. The market is trading one way, an index separates itself in the short term. I've seen this storyline play out a lot. And there is some concern here. There's no doubt about that. Short-term bearish short-term bearish downtrend, short-term bearish retracement, hesitating at some major resistance levels. And a pure technician would say that that is concerning and that the probability has to be a retest of support. I get that, but when you couple it with what the other indexes are doing out there, I see this as a little bit of a K trade situation and not solely a bearish retracement, because multiple time frame analysis is important. And when you're looking at this on that weekly chart, I think you see this as a bullish retracement on the weekly chart. And you look at this on the weekly chart, you got the double bottom right there, you got the hesitation, snap back, and now you're just really looking for confirmation here on the weekly chart in the Nasdaq is what you're looking at. And so I think there's a lot of people, institutions, hedge funds, traders, however you want to categorize market participants. I think they're looking at the Nasdaq right now and they're saying, yeah, we have concern, right? And I think the concern has been more from a valuation perspective than it is a specific growth inflationary perspective. But again, that's just my opinion. So when you're looking at this from a technical perspective, you're saying, okay, if we can get confirmation, if we can shake out this fear over here, and if we can get confirmation, we should have some clear selling back up into the highs here. Well, if you look at that on a weekly chart and you break this down now on a daily chart, and let's just kind of spotlight these 3 days right here, you get a little bit of a low base fill right here. This is a low base. This is a failure of a low base, which means this is a K trade example where you would short underneath the low of the base at 12,700, but you're a buyer at the top of the base at right north of 13,000. And what I like about this is I think it's setting up for a potential catch up to fairly aggressively trigger into these highs again. And so if the market, I have a hard time seeing the Dow, the Russell, and the S&P all breaching all-time highs, all look at the airlines.
Mm-hmm.
Look at jets here. We looked at every single airline in our scouting report meeting, literally, and it was pick a dart, throw it at the Wall Street Journal, because all the airlines are fantastic, right? We liked Delta, love the trigger above $50 on Delta. Absolutely love the trigger above $50 on Delta. You don't think these airlines don't have more room to catch up, guys? These airlines got more room to catch up. And so, I have a hard time seeing this cyclical movement happen and maintain consistency while the NASDAQ just burns. I have a hard time seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
And so either one, the storyline that is playing out in the NASDAQ regarding growth concerns tied to inflationary and interest rates is a little bit of a, we're making too much of it in the short term, or is something real and the other indexes aren't participating. I believe that it's a little, we're making a little bit more about this bond market situation and how it's going to impact the growth concerns. I think we're making a little bit more out of it than it needs to be, quite frankly. And so I could see the NASDAQ playing a little bit of catch up. And so I coming into this week, I just feel like we're setting up a breakout in the S&P. You hesitate. And again, the Fed can throw a lot of cold water this Wednesday, guys. There's no
Mm-hmm.
doubt. But the way I know the Fed, and the way I see Jay Powell specifically, and I want to be very clear on this, I believe Jay Powell is a coward, and he will capitulate to the mob. And so I see him turning dovetail on Wednesday and tucking his tail between his legs like my dog Rosie does when we're playing fetch.
Of course.
And she gets scared at the dog park because their other dogs are bigger than her. And so I do see that, and I think the market sees that as well.
I believe that Powell will capitulate as well and tuck his tail, like you're talking about. Whether the market buys into it or believes what he has to say, we'll have to wait and see for that on Wednesday. It just depends on the nature of his comments and whatnot. I think it's interesting as you're going through the markets, because you're right on the Nasdaq. Obviously, you don't have to be a supreme technician to see that it's underperforming, like you're talking about. But that hesitation right there, it is setting up for a potential bi-directional trade. The market will let us know what direction it wants to
Well,
take this index.
and honestly, it everything I said, you can simplify it and just look at the differences between the weekly chart and the daily
Mhm.
chart, and ultimately ask yourself a question. Do you think the short-term concern that is building this trend, do you think that has a greater probability than the long-term trend that has created this chart?
No, the long-term trend has the probability.
And that's well, then you say the Nasdaq catches up.